Welcome to Restoring Childhood on the Same Page, where we are literally trying to get on the same page about The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. Thank you. Yes, yes. This episode, we're going to be talking about the introduction of the book, which is called Growing Up on Mars and the Way Childhood Has Drastically Shifted. I have three amazing guests, all that I love very much.
Aww.
Yes, very sweet. And I will let you all introduce yourselves. So we'll start over here.
I am Kaysha Sells. I am a VPK teacher at Northeast and also a parent.
I am Morgan Aubrey. I am a math teacher in Putnam County.
And I'm Rebecca Shearman. I'm a second grade teacher at Prescott South Elementary. I get the pleasure of hanging out with Ryan's children all the time. Great place to be. Wonderful job getting to see this in action.
Yeah. So I thank you all for being here. I think you all have very good entry points into this and various entry points.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, our children are like besties. So Maya is 9 and Matilda is 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
But close friends and that. So, but also from a pre-K level, I thought you have a lot of great insight about what's happening with the little kids. We have co-taught math together for, well, we had, not this year.
Cry.
It's so sad. But what, 3 years. And some kids have been traumatized by that.
Our morning song.
Yeah, we are quite hyper. We dance and sing and blurt out information about
Church hymns.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
Know.
Yeah. But you've spoken before about you're on the like older end of this generation that's been impacted, and now you're working middle school with these kids who have been deeply impacted. So I thought that was really great. And then of course you're in the elementary level and also have taught my child and hang out with my kids. And so yeah, I just feel like you all have really great insight into this, and I'm really thankful that you could come and discuss it. So what we'll do, let's just jump into the book. So Growing Up on Mars, Jonathan Haidt is talking about literally, and I'm just going to read this first little part. He says, suppose that when your first child turned 10, a visionary billionaire whom you've never met chose her to join the first permanent human settlement on Mars. Her academic performance plus an analysis of her genome, which you don't remember giving consent for, there's a big one, clinched her a spot. Unbeknownst to you, she had signed herself up for the mission because she loves outer space, and besides, all of her friends have signed up. She begs you to let her go. So from there, he speaks about this kind of fake scenario of just parents like randomly letting their kids go to Mars and what that looks like and how their bodies shift and change, and are they able to come back to Earth? Who knows? What are any quotes or things that kind of stood out to you about that metaphor that he was using there? Did anything particular stand out to anybody?
I like how it's not from the get-go, okay, let's look at technology. Like it go ahead and opens the book to this metaphorical, let's look at this crazy idea that could possibly happen one day. And so you're kind of already hooked of, okay, this is a good way to start this book. And then, oh, hold on, let's flip it. Hold on, maybe this could be like technology in a way. And so it's definitely a good way to symbolize technology.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it was interesting the way that he like makes it almost seem like an accident that your child's going to go to Mars. Like how do you just accidentally sign up to go to Mars? But as a parent, you do kind of accidentally allow your kids to
Spirals.
Yes, it really is an accident on our parts a lot.
Yeah. And I think that's how a lot of parents feel. We spoke about this in the last episode of how like parents feel in too deep. Like they don't even know how they got here and they don't know how to reel it back.
Because it starts as a Coco Melon video when they're 2 and then quickly turns into an addiction.
Oh yeah, Cocomelon is the gateway into the hardcore smartphone. But you're absolutely right. Like
just so you can make an appointment or make a phone call
Yeah.
or something, and then it just becomes more and more and more.
Absolutely.
So in the book, he talks about how it just started as an interest in space.
Yeah.
She didn't initially sign up to go to Mars. It started as an interest in something. So I thought that was a very accurate
Yeah.
way to
It's also
put
that she signed herself up
Yeah.
without like getting. I wasn't allowed to even go to my next door neighbor's house like without permission, and she signed herself up to go to a different planet without her parents even knowing.
Yeah. I
So-
underline that.
Yeah.
You don't remember giving consent.
Yeah.
He gets a little bit later in the chapter, he gets to that
It says the company did not require proof of parental permission. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
or at like age 13 or something.
Yeah.
They can get on anything.
Yeah, and that's where he's saying like there are on page 4 he's talking about there's not many legal limits imposed on the tech world, so like we were just thrust into this thing, and I really like that you pointed out that accidental part of it, because it really was like it was this new thing. Nobody, like average people, didn't really know about it. We were just doing it. We got suddenly these computers in our homes, and then in 2010 2012 we suddenly have these smartphones. But like he's saying that there were very few legal limitations imposed on the tech companies, and really the only major one is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, enacted 1998. It has not been updated since then.
And think about how much growth.
Oh yeah.
How much the internet has spanned since then.
Yeah, well, in 1998, we had to go to a computer, one of those dial-up network things, to get on there. And now we have the internet like in our pockets and in
on our
hand.
wrist.
Yeah, on our wrist. Yeah.
In our glasses.
Yeah, and nothing's been changed. And back to what kind of you were referring to, it says it requires children under 13 to get parental consent before they can sign a contract without the company, or with the company, to give away their data and some of their rights when they open an account. And so it's saying that like you have to be 13 to do this,
But
then
you don't.
yeah,
Just clicking a box.
But you don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
same
clicked that
thing. That's what
box
it
so many
says. It's like
times
you don't.
before
They
I
don't
was
have
13.
to verify. Exactly.
Yeah.
Same.
yeah.
Same. You have to be 13 to make a Facebook account.
Yep.
Same thing. Think of all the people that have like that their birthdays.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Or
way
you have to be able
older.
to like make yourself 13. Because I remember even signing up for a Facebook account. Like I wasn't old enough.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a college, was it like a college
yeah.
email address or something
Originally,
like that? So you just have to be smart enough to make yourself 13.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to get a Facebook until I was 13, and I got one on my 13th birthday.
Wow.
But I have friends that like you look, and I'm like, oh, what's their birthday? And I'll look, and I'm like, it says they're 47.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm like, oh, it's because they didn't change their I mean, you can't change it, but
Yeah.
because
they
they
made it.
They don't verify.
yeah, they
Yeah.
don't.
And he even says like they have this like kind of, and 13 is already too young in my opinion. Like he calls that
we're
internet
3 years
adulthood.
away from 13 in my house, and I can't imagine.
Yeah, like
I would rather her sign up to go to Mars than to have the World Wide Web.
precisely.
Yes.
Well, because it is literally anything and everything you could ever imagine at their fingertips. And yes, there is this thing of you have to be 13, but they just a click of the button, they're like, oh, I am 18 or I am this, and they have access to hardcore porn. They have access to violent content. They have access to the worst part of humanity that they're carrying around with them.
And it's interesting to them.
Oh yeah,
So they click it.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
remember being on Omegle when I was
Oh.
like 12, looking at, with friends at like sleepovers and stuff, and looking back, like I'll have students talk about that. I'm like, whoa, let's go back. Because I was like, I've been there. That's icky. You don't need to be.
I don't think you brought it up when you introduced her, but you are a Gen Zer, right? Like,
I was born in 99.
yeah, so she has this very unique
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. And I looked last night, I was talking to my husband, and I figured out you can find out when you downloaded Instagram. I downloaded it May 7th, 2012. So I had just turned 13.
Oh, wow.
And that is...
You were busy on your 13th birthday.
That was not my 13th birthday. I waited a few weeks because I was born in April.
Today.
I was, but I didn't get an iPhone until high school, but I had one of those iPod Touches. And so I had all the apps. I had the Hot or Not, the all those little apps where you could like rate each other. And I mean, my mental health and like my image of myself was so poor at 12.
I'm like, same thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm at the very like top end or bottom end, whichever one, of when it starts in like 1996 or 1995, like I'm right on that cusp. And
That's
so
when my husband was born. So
going through, like same thing, I'm like, okay, I see this. I see where this is all coming from. Same thing when he goes in and talks about, well, you can just go in and you're looking at who's seen your posts and who has liked your stuff. It's really damaging to young girls. And I'm like, okay, I was that young girl. Like I'm seeing myself in there, and I don't want that for the young girls that are in my classroom that are getting older and that they're gonna follow the same path.
I think that's one of the best things Instagram has come out with, is where you can turn off like seeing how many likes. I don't know if you can do it on your own, but like I can't see how many likes other people's posts have. And I remember that was a big thing for me. I think it was in high school or college that I was able to do that. And I was like, whoa, I feel better. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's, so he talks about this whole phone-based childhood and things. And this is the exact time that we're talking about here. And it's specifically the introduction of smartphones, but then specifically the iPhone with the first front-facing camera, which started to really impact it. And then when Facebook bought Instagram, and all of this stuff that you're talking about just became more amplified, where the filters are being used and all of that. So were there what were some other things, any quotes or parts of the chapter that really stood out to you, really hit you? I've got, mine looks like a nutso person, just like.
I will say one quote that kind of crushed me a little bit, because like you think about, like, okay, yeah, I might let my daughter go to Mars, but the quote that like, gut punched me was, it's unknown if adapted children will ever return to Earth. So would you allow your child to be part of something or go somewhere not knowing they'll ever be back to you?
Yeah.
That was kind of, I don't know, it really made me emotional almost to think about that.
Yeah. Well, and especially with young girls, you have 2 girls, I have 2 girls. And the way that this impacts girls is different than the way it impacts
suicide.
boys.
I mean, he talks about in this chapter, like suicide rates. Like, I mean, that's the ultimate never to return. But like, you can just lose who your children are by these things.
Yeah. And we can lose them in a sense of who they are, and we kind of lose them to technology, and they're just consumed with it, and they're a different person, and they rage when you try to take it away from them. And you can literally lose them through, so for girls as young as 10, so this is our children's age, from the sort of 2012 period, that 10-year stretch after that, hospital visits for self-harm and suicide attempts have gone up 188%. And that's one of the statistics he gives. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's ever like it. Sometimes it feels like with things like this, we speak in these like hyperboles and we're using these fear tactics, but this really and truly is where we've seen, he lays out the research where this really is negatively impacting youth, and some of these children are not returning.
Well, and I think you and I have talked about this on like a parenting level of like having to backtrack promises we made, like for having phones or having these things, because we knowing what we now know, we don't want to risk our kids never returning to Earth. Like we don't want to risk that.
Yep. I spoke about that on the last week's episode, that I had to literally tell Maya, who I had told, when you go to middle school, I will get you a smartphone. And after I read this, I sat her down and I was like, I don't, we're taking a step back. We're going to wait till high school. And it was disappointing at first, but she rolled with it and she understood because I
Right.
explained it to her in a developmentally appropriate way, and she got it. But you
But
had
I
to do
think
the
it
same thing.
ultimately comes down to you didn't want to risk losing Maya.
Yeah,
Like she's
absolutely.
a wonderful child and has all of these great qualities, and maybe it wouldn't affect her,
Yeah,
but
Why
the
risk
chance,
it?
yeah,
yeah. Why with all this that we know would we risk that when it's our children, like the most prized? Really, that really and truly of all the things I've done in my life, I've had the privilege of doing a lot of things. My absolute favorite thing I've ever done is be a dad. And I love being a teacher. I was a social worker before that. I love that. But my absolute favorite thing I've ever done is be a dad. And I cannot imagine knowing this information and not acting in a way that is going to be for the good.
and also like you've worked really hard at making these good human beings.
Yeah, we
And
tried.
then to just let the tech world just take that away.
Yeah.
That
I think especially at the very end of that chapter, like this chapter I feel really sets up the book. He does such a great job with the kids going to Mars. He go ahead and lets you know, okay, this is what the book's going to look like. Here's what I'm going to set you up for. Here are these terms that we're going to be talking about, so you're familiar with these terms. But at the very end, this book is not just for parents. It's not for teachers. It's for everybody. Yeah. And after reading it, especially, anytime I'm anywhere and I'm with this book, I'm like, go buy this book. You don't have to read all of it. Go read just the in sums. Like anytime I'm at Plenty, I'm buying multiple copies. Here, you want a copy? Because the data in it is just so mind boggling. And then going back to how are we letting this happen? How are tech companies just turning a blind eye? Well, it's a statistic. I need the numbers. I need the views. I need for that to come in.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what is more nefarious is I wish it was just kind of a turning the blind eye, but the fact that, and this is later in the book that he really dives into it, there's a whole chapter on it, but he talks about it throughout. But the tech companies actually study psychology. They know what hooks people. They know how to do it, and they use that to hook people. And that is what, to me, is extra evil. That, not to like try to correct what you're saying about turning a blind eye.
Absolutely,
like, you know, it's like they're doing it on purpose. They know exactly what they're doing, and they are like intentionally doing it. And that is.
I just feel like we need to shout it from the rooftops.
And that's one
Let's
thing
go to
I
the
think
roof. Where's the roof?
I'm like, how can people know about this? That's what just shocks me, is how can you read this and not go, oh, I need to tell everybody about this. I need to go tell all of my friends.
I think
that have
part of it is that
children.
he gives such specific examples for
Yes.
why it's bad. Because I feel like if you ask people, they're like, how does technology affect a 12-year-old? They're going to say, oh, probably not good. I feel like most people would know that it's not the most positive experience.
or
But-
this new generation.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
like they would know, like, oh, having a kid on their phone for 7 hours a day is probably not the best idea, but they're still doing it. This
Yeah.
gives you specifics for why it's bad, how it's bad, and how we can do better.
And he goes into those things too of like, I bet you're going to think
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wait, what?
it's this, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
And so,
well, and he talks about like the difference between like the older generation and how, you know, the cigarette industry really preyed on them.
Yeah.
And how this newer generation, it was more the internet and the tech companies, but it's benefiting adults now. Like it was,
Yeah.
cigarettes really didn't benefit anyone. I mean,
Yeah.
and to take something away from everyone, the illustration between cigarettes and iPads or
Yeah.
internet was kind of
Yeah, because like it wasn't like smoking. Like parents are giving tablets to kids to help themselves do things around the house or whatever. And like you said, it's that accidental thing that happens. That wasn't happening with cigarettes.
yeah.
So yeah, that's. You know,
Take a cigarette.
Take a
Mommy's
cigarette.
Mommy's got to go online shop.
I need to go wash these dishes. Have this back of menthols.
Right, because the internet does benefit us. I
Yeah.
mean, and you and I have talked about that like you can't just do away with it. Like you just have to think about the repercussions of it.
Yeah, and there's this other book that I've read called The Disengaged Teen, and they talk about this one man who goes around and speaks, and he asks groups of youth, are you using tech or is it using you? And really that's what it comes down to. This is not an anti-tech movement. It's about like saying like, how are we using this, and are we doing it in an appropriate way? And I really like how if you look at page 9, he clarifies the terms, but he talks about like the embodied experience, the synchronous experience, one-to-one communication, and then the high bar for entry and exit, and how that is like shifted how kids are interacting. So like that embodied experience where you are present, you are here, you're with people. The synchronous, which is things that are happening in the moment where you are, the one-to-one communication, and that high bar for entry and exit. Like before social media and all that, you couldn't just easily defriend somebody. Like they're still your neighbor. Like they're not.
You're in class with them.
You can't block them. You're in class with them. They're your neighbor. That's your brother. That's your cousin.
You have to work with them.
Yeah. And social media has created this, what he says, like disembodied, asynchronous, one-to-many conversations, and a low bar for entry and exit. So it's completely shifted even how we interact with the world around us. And that's bizarre to me, but it really stood out.
That's coming into the school system, I feel like, too. You're starting to see it a little bit more, especially with, okay, I'm not taking turns with people because I'm not playing a game next to somebody. I'm not playing Sorry or Trouble in the floor. I'm playing a video game either with the computer by myself or with people I don't know online. And so then coming into the classroom where we're going to play a classroom game and I have half the class doesn't know how to lose because they're playing their own game at home all by themselves and not talking to somebody. And then going into the same thing, as soon as I saw about making sure, okay, nope, I'm done with you. I feel like that was a really hard skill for my sister and I when we were growing up of, I don't like you, I'm not ever talking to you again. Well, you're gonna work with people that maybe you don't get along with, or you're gonna have people in your family that maybe you don't get along with, but you have to see them occasionally. And so I feel like especially with social media, the way that is now is, okay, I'm not confronting this, we're not gonna have a conclusion, we're not gonna try and mediate anything. This is a conflict for me, I'm not going to address it. And so I see that a lot with kids now of, okay, well, you're making me upset, nope, we're not friends anymore, because it is used to the, I'm going to unfriend you, I'm going to block you, we're not ever talking. Whereas previously, okay, if you get upset on the playground, well, you're playing on the playground all the time and you're seeing your friends on the playground all the time. So you're having that natural, okay, I have to learn how to deal with, okay, I'm in an uncomfortable situation, I can't just leave it forever.
You have to learn to work with people you don't enjoy. I feel like that's a big thing I have with a lot of my students. They're like, I got to switch my schedule. I don't like being in the class with blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so you have to learn to work with people that you don't enjoy. And that's just part of life.
And to just regulate your emotions.
Yeah, like you can't just rage on them. Yes, exactly.
And that's what I think a lot of people, when they hear about, you know, us saying like we want to limit screen time and stuff, they just think about the kids, the time that the kids are spending on the screens and all the negative stuff that we've talked about that is on the screens, but it's also like what they're missing out on in the real world. And these are the things they're missing out on.
They don't know how to talk to each other.
Yeah, they're missing out on the just daily conversations, working through a difficult situation. We see that a lot in the middle school.
On the bus, if we're going on a field trip for 30 minutes, what am I gonna do without my phone? Yeah. It's like you think they're like cutting them open because they can't, they are going crazy because they don't have their phone on a 20-minute ride. Or when they're at recess, they're like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, go invent a game over there. And they just don't know how.
Yeah.
So
it really has shifted. I think one of the most important parts of this chapter is when he lays out the 4 reforms. And he says that this does not take a lot of money or any money. It just takes a community, which is what we're doing here, to at least abide by these 4 things. And he says within 2 years' time, and I wrote 2 years, really big here, but he says in 2 years' time, you can start to see a positive shift in all of these negative things we're seeing if you do these 4 things as a collective, and it is no smartphones before high school, and he talks about the wait till 9th thing, which we will also have here in Putnam County. No social media before 16. Phone-free schools, which we now have by law, so that's awesome. And that also means like we're ahead of the game. For once, like we are progressive. Like look at us go. We're doing great. We're way ahead of the game. Yeah, and I think a lot of parents are scared about that, and a lot of parents are angry.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Like you can validate that a little bit. Like,
Absolutely.
Not all teachers are as cool as us, and or is that easy to have their kid in their class. But
well, and like my daughter's 10, and like I want my eyes or someone's eyes on her at all time. And if I didn't trust the adults that were looking at her,
Yeah.
which
it is
I don't
scary.
have kids,
which
but I watch
the
a lot
later in school you
Yes.
get, the less trust you have, I've found, for the adults. Not because they're not trusting, but just because you don't have that relationship with them at the like you do at the elementary level.
Yeah, developmentally, it's just natural for you to become slightly more and more distant as the kid gets older. With
So I just wanted to interrupt there and say, I feel like it's valid
It
for
is.
parents to push back.
Absolutely, and 100%. And I mean, one thing that we're not going to try to do is tell parents how to feel. However, I can give you this information, and you can read it, and you can see that, like, okay, I don't care why they did the cell phone law, and I do think it was for the kids' best interest in mind, but I don't care why they did it. This guy, who is a social psychologist who has deeply researched this, is saying that, like, that is one of the 4 things that we can do to seriously positively impact this. And for that reason, I'm wholly for it.
Right.
And I think we could do a whole episode on phone-free schools, just that. But I don't want to get too caught up in that, just because like we could do like probably 10 episodes on that. And the 4th one is just far more unsupervised play and childhood independence, which is back to what we were talking about. And there is, speaking of new laws and things, the new law that extended recess for elementary level. We still can only, it's 90 minutes a week. So,
But that one is the scariest one to me, which I don't have kids of my own. I have cats. They go unsupervised all the time. But like I watch a lot of true crime and things like that, and I'm just like, oh my word, what if that happens on my watch? Or if my niece, like we were at a softball game last night, my niece asked to go throw something away at the trash can, and I'm like, yeah, go throw it away. And I'm watching her
But
watch
to that, in the book, he talks about how much more at risk our children are online than
true.
in
Yes.
the world. In
Yeah.
the world,
Absolutely. And it's that overexposure to the virtual world and underexposure to the real world. And he later, not in this chapter, but talks about this culture of fear and safetyism that has caused that. And like shows like that, and this like constant news cycle that is just telling us all the bad things, when it's way more likely on Roblox that your child is being like literally talking
groomed
to
with an old man.
Yeah, exactly. Being groomed, being approached by a sex.
so I think it's this
offender.
like mental shift. And I will say, our parents, like my mom is a boomer, and so in that generation, they were taught it's safer online. Not safer, but like you still had to have parameters. But like to play a game online would be safer than to go out in your neighborhood and play.
Yeah.
Get a concussion.
Right. Right. So they were trying to be in our best interest in doing that. But we do have to shift our minds that it's really more dangerous online. than
Absolutely.
going to the trash can at the ball.
Yeah, going to the trash can. But it's also going to the trash can where you learn that autonomy, you learn that independence. And for that moment, I mean, going to the trash can, you can still see that child, at least for the most part, at the game. But to the kid, that feels like a big moment. I remember how big things felt as a kid. And you're like by yourself, you're walking, you're trusted to go to the trash can. But if we don't allow kids those moments, that's when they fail later in life, because they haven't had those opportunities to do it under our protection to some degree, and under our guidance, that opportunity to try things and fail, and then that resilience is not built.
Going back to the recess law of where we now have to have 40 minutes of recess, which is very exciting. My first thought in my head was like, oh my gosh, where's my academic time going?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be gone. What am I going to do? And so looking at it, especially after reading through this, we're now talking about it so much at a school level. We're widening the Wonderland Woods.
Yes.
We're moving so you can have a bigger space for all kids to go play. You need a big area to run. Okay, well, we're going to have this huge field where you can go run behind a fence. So we're still making sure everyone's safe at school. But then also we've talked about, okay, indoor recess, do not get out computers. They do not need to be on computers in the classroom unless it's for a screen or that specified time. But okay, go get a board game out. Let them build a puzzle. Let them create something. I had a student last year that built a whole house out of paper. And it was just because she was bored and we didn't have anything else to do at that moment at the very end of the school year. And it was amazing. I had never seen a kid do that before. And so letting them also have your structured recess time feel a little bit more independent.
Yeah.
And okay, don't sit on that computer. Here's paint. Here's the board games. Here's blocks to build something with. Go.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
We even have kids that are wanting to stay inside when we're allowed to go outside at recess. They're like, oh, it's too cold or too hot outside. Or sometimes it actually is. But other times they're like, I'm just not feeling too good. So they can go play shell shockers on their computer.
Yeah.
And so that's a big concern, is that I feel like they don't know how... that's all they know how to do.
Yeah. And that's how childhood, if we talk about how childhood has changed, I mean, you could not get me inside as a kid. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I didn't want to be inside. And so I would never give up an outdoor recess time to be inside, even if it was on a video game or whatever. I wanted to be outside.
Well, pre-K has an hour-long recess. And so at the beginning of the year...
1 hour long?
She said 1 hour.
Well, I just didn't know if it was like
1
30
hour
or 30.
every day. No.
Wow.
So at the beginning of the year, it's interesting because kids will literally just stand or like look at a tree. Like they do not know how to engage with others, or not that they don't know the physical ways of going down the slide, but they don't know the games that come with that. But then like by March and April, our kids are like, can we stay out long? So they start to learn it. When given opportunity, because you think about an hour's a long time to be outside or be at the park or
Well, and it kind of takes us back to this thing of growing up on Mars, and to some degree these kids that you're even talking about, even pre-K on CoComelon, on their screens, they live on Mars, and you're telling them, you're putting them in a place where they don't have a
come to
screen.
Earth for an hour,
and they don't know how to do that. But I love that you say, like, after a little bit they assimilate and they come back to Earth and they learn that again. And
so I don't want to ever feel like we're too far gone in all of this, because it can be, even at your level, taught or encouraged.
But it is very hard, like with the phone thing. If you're the only one in your whole group of friends that doesn't have the phone or doesn't have, it does feel very isolating.
Yes.
And so I do think that's why it's very important for us to, as a community, go together and take the pledge together as a whole.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we have, even on restoringchildhood.putnamcounty.com, we have the Wait Till Ninth Pledge, where families can say, like, we're pledging to do these things that this says, where wait till high school and then wait till 16 for social media, so that you don't send your kid over to their friend's house. And
well, like our kids together, like you're not doing the phone thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we're in this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Right.
Are you still
There was a moment where I wasn't sure.
You thought I was a goner.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, there for a moment. But you came back to Earth. But yeah.
He saved me. I texted him. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, there was this one moment where, like, due to like
the 2-hour flight
dance.
Is that it? That did it?
No, she made a dance team, and like we thought about it for a minute. Actually bought a phone, and then I texted her and I was like, I'm really close. He was like, just think about it.
Just
Stay sober.
you signed this pledge here.
I was like, but what if just in the afternoons she had a phone?
What if it's just this once?
But we went a different route. I stayed sober.
Yeah. Well, and not in this chapter, but he later talks
He's my
about
accountability
these...
friend.
Yes, exactly. But he talks about like there are other options with that, like a
Right.
flip phone or a watch that is not a smartwatch. And Maya has that. Matilda has that.
And like so many of Matilda's friends are getting like Apple Watches and like hooking them to their. Now I'm not techie, so I don't know, but like they're hooking it to their mom's phone, and so they can still be monitored and like, but
Yeah.
still feel in.
Yeah.
So there's ways
Yeah.
to.
There are ways of doing it.
I had
are
a
a little safer.
coworker that she mentioned they are not techie people at all. She very, very rarely responds to text messages because she likes to be away from her phone. And her husband's the same way. So he actually went into a cell phone store and asked to get a flip phone. He was like, I'm done with this. I don't want it anymore.
Well, let me tell you, that would
They're
be
more
absolutely not okay going into middle school. Like,
Oh, yeah.
she would just assume not have one.
Well,
and have a
what
flip phone.
blew
Well, they're
his
kind of coming
mind-
back. They have those cool ones in the commercials. I don't know.
Well, they're like early 20s, and so it's, I feel like, not the norm for that group. And the worker there said, you are the 14th person today that has come in and asked for a
Good.
flip phone.
Wow.
Wow.
And so that kind of,
Yeah.
same thing when we talked about it, I was like, whoa, okay, maybe
Yeah.
it's resonating a little bit more than what I'm perceiving so far of, okay, smartphone, I need to talk, I need to be
If Ryan's
connected.
texts start coming in, what is it, blue? Like
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're out of
Yeah, yeah.
Apple,
Oh, yeah.
you'll know he's.
Green. yeah, green.
The blue is iPhone, yeah.
If his texts start coming in green,
Yeah, then
we'll
you
know
know
he's.
I've gone to the other side. But
He's on a
yeah.
razor.
But yeah, I cannot believe it, but we are already out of time. Can you believe that? That went by very
Wow.
fast. But I really do appreciate this, you all coming in and speaking about this. Does anybody have any like final thing you would say to any parent or anyone out there? You don't have to. Read the book.
Read the book.
Yes.
Read the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the book speaks for itself, and I appreciate the dialogue on it. But everybody has to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
Everybody has to
Even
do
if
what's
you
best.
can't.
Yeah.
I mean, my life looks completely different than everyone sitting here, and their life looks completely different from me. I don't know what goes on at home. I talk about that with parents at school. I don't know what your nightly life looks like. You might not be able to read all of this. Come to the collective conversations that we're having.
Yep.
You don't have to read the book to come to that.
Yep.
You can come and
Get
listen
the
to the
audio book
discussion.
and
was-
listen to
yeah.
it like a podcast.
Yeah,
That's what I've done
absolutely.
twice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's so many options. The
Yes.
library has a non-readers version of a book club. Get involved. But yeah, just think about it. And yeah, thank you for helping us literally be on the same page. Yeah. Thank you.